Hey guys, just a quick heads up. I had some audio issues with this video, which may be taking longer to edit, so sorry about that. Definitely been longer than a month since Deltarune came out. Anyway, enjoy the video. Deltarune chapters 3 and 4 have been out for about a month now, and man is there a lot to talk about. From new beloved characters to insane lore drops, and even our first meeting with the Roaring Knight, our heroes are truly starting their adventure and learning what exactly the stakes are in this terrifying world of lightners and darkners. In the center of all the chaos that happens is one of our heroes, Susie, the tank of the group who goes through such an incredible character arc through just the first 4 chapters. Seeing the way she acts in chapter 1 versus chapter 4, she's basically an entirely new person. She's kinder, feels remorse for the way she's acted up till now, and has become more confident in herself and the way she can help her friends. But I think she's even more than just that. Throughout my own playthrough of the game, I found some interesting clues that may not only lead to her full potential, but also her fate by the end of the game itself. Strap in guys, because we have a lot to cover. There's going to be a lot of spoilers ahead, so proceed with caution. As always, this is my own interpretation of what's going on, so don't take my ramblings as fact. With all that out of the way, let's get started. If you don't know what Deltarune is or haven't played it for yourself yet, you might want to go check it out at least a little bit first. Long story short, Deltarune is the successor to the incredible indie game Undertale, which of course I am also a fan of. The game is set in an alternate timeline with familiar characters and buildings in the town, but has a very different story. For example, in Undertale, Caddy and Bratty are the best of friends and you never see the two apart. In Deltarune, the two are basically sworn enemies and despise each other. In Undertale, your choices matter and will decide what your ending will look like, whether you take a pacifist, neutral, or genocide path. In Deltarune, your actions don't inherently matter, and you'll basically reach the same end no matter what. Aside from Snowgrave route in chapter 2, but we'll touch on that a little later. Much like its predecessor, I believe this game is best played blind and to your own liking, not what others tell you to do. But play it or watch it however you like. I'm not here to tell you what to do with the game. The prophecy of Deltarune states that 3 heroes will come together to stop the Roaring, a world-ending event that will bring titans to the light world and ensue mass destruction, crush the remaining darkners, and leave the lightners in an endless night. A human, a monster, and a prince of darkness must come together to stop this devastating event. Chris, Susie, and Rousey. Or so we think. There's a lot of speculation and potential evidence that Susie is not actually the monster from the prophecy. It's revealed in chapter 3 that Rousey isn't telling Chris or Susie the entire prophecy and is leaving things out to try to protect them from the truth. This continues through chapter 4, where we start seeing glass panels that tell the real prophecy and what is to come, as Rousey desperately tries to stay ahead of the others so they won't have to see the truth. It's extremely accurate, like scarily accurate, and it leads Susie to want to know more about her and her friends' fates. At the end of the chapter, Susie runs ahead of us to the final panel that tells the ending of the story, and shatters it before we get the chance to see. She talks with Rousey about not letting that ending happen, even though it's clear she's terrified of the new knowledge. She tries to comfort Rousey to the best of her abilities, but then when we talk to him after she walks off, Rousey has blood coating his fur in the text box sprite. The only other time we've seen blood shown in either game is in Sans' fight during the genocide run of Undertale. Now, this may or may not mean much, but it's not exactly common to hear about monsters bleeding at all. There's some conflicting evidence though, with Susie in chapter 1 mentioning that everybody bleeds, but then this little rabbit kid in the town apartments asks Chris if it hurts to be made of blood. Monsters don't die or get injured like humans do. Instead, they turn to dust when their time comes or if they get injured enough. Even in Undertale's genocide route, none of the other major characters seem to bleed when you defeat them. Knowing how these games work, I think Susie's bleeding hand has some sort of importance to her role. We know that the ending she saw was bad enough to scare her, but not exactly what it is. It's more than likely that this ending shows at least one of our heroes dying, and with the clues we have leading up to this scene, I'm convinced it's going to be Susie. Game Theory just did a really great video going into some of the evidence, but I want to add on to that and explain why it's deeper than just the visuals we've gotten. In chapter 4, we meet the old man, who, if you've played Undertale, you will know is actually Gerson Boom, war veteran and father of Alvin Boom, who's the priest of the church in town. His spirit, brought back to life by the Dark Fountain, is at first introduced as if he's going to be just another side character, and has a wacky adventure to get him back to his library office. However, he appears several times even after getting him back, and helps Susie specifically to train her in various ways without her truly realizing it. This all adds up in a secret fight you can find in the library itself. Above the fireplace in the library, there's a plaque talking about the Justice Axe, a powerful weapon that will make the wielder much stronger. Legend has it there's an axe hidden in these walls, and whoever wields it will have great magic power. In order to get the axe, you must first acquire the climbing gear from Jack, who has one of the most fun mini-boss battles ever, and climb up several bookcases to reach the golden piano. You need to find 3 separate pieces of sheet music and play it at this piano. Once you do, the fireplace in Gerson's office will open up, and it's there you will find the Justice Axe. Susie tries to take a hold of it, but Gerson stops her, asking her to pay an ungodly amount of money for it. But then comes to a deal that if she gives him a haircut, she can have the axe. She agrees, of course, but when she goes to trim his beard... This turns into a full-on boss fight with Gerson, the old man. The difference between this secret boss and the others from previous chapters is that this battle is legitimately training Susie, not just story-wise, but in the actual gameplay itself. Each time you lose, Gerson gives her a pep talk about not giving up, and she takes it to heart. Even after the first loss, when he tries to give Susie the axe for working hard to get to that point, she declines. She wants to win the axe fair and square, which Gerson is more than delighted to hear. Every time you play this fight, Susie's numbers will rise higher and higher. It's fairly subtle, only getting better by 1 or 2 points each time, but she is getting better with her attacks and her healing, since you aren't allowed to use any items for the fight. What I love about this battle is that it isn't demeaning when you lose, and it isn't just about getting the axe. It's a genuinely fun, challenging, but fair fight that left me feeling so accomplished when I did finally beat it. What the player feels at the end is how Susie feels as well. At least it was for me. The fight also eases you into the mechanics and doesn't immediately hit you with 1,000 swords coming every which way without warning. The mechanics are literally Gerson gradually training Susie on bigger attacks without it being too overwhelming for the most part. I'm not typically someone to gush over game mechanics, as I usually play games for their stories and lore, but this is one battle that I absolutely gush over time and time again. And I think this one's different than most others due to the fact that this is directly related to Undyne and Undertale. While we don't know too much on Undyne's history as far as Deltarune goes, we know in Undertale she was raised and mentored by Gerson in her youth, and she looks up to him for being such a hero to monsterkind. Undyne was a hot-headed kid before this, always getting into trouble. To prove she was strong, she challenged Asgore to a fight, but couldn't land a single blow on him. He offered to train her on how to beat him, and from then on the two seemed to have a father-daughter-like relationship. Undyne ended up following in the footsteps of both Gerson and Asgore, and went on to be the new hero of the Underground. This lines up almost exactly with Susie's story so far, a troubled kid who tries to fight everything and everyone she sees, ending up getting trained by a hero of the past. The attacks in Gerson's fight are exactly that of Undyne's, just a bit more advanced. All in all, it's very similar to Undyne's story, and the accompanying song to the battle is called Hammer of Justice, which just so happens to be Gerson's weapon and nickname, and has the same motives of Undyne's theme, Spear of Justice. This is clear evidence that Susie is our replacement for Undyne as far as the heroes go. She's taking on a similar role in saving the dark and light worlds from destruction, much like Undyne did for the Underground, but it goes even deeper than just Chapter 4. All the way back in Chapter 1, we're shown that Rude Buster is Susie's main attack and one of her accompanying theme songs. Rude Buster also has Spear of Justice motives and can also be heard throughout some other songs in Chapter 4 relating to Gerson. physically playing out Undyne's story, what does that mean for the endgame? What is her fate in the prophecy? Well, there's a few things that could happen. I don't think Toby Fox would give us a completely downer ending for the main story, but the Snowgrave route is a whole other can of worms. In Chapter 2, you have the option to go on this alternate route that at first didn't seem like it would be a canon event, but this is essentially Deltarune's genocide route. With Noelle on your side, you have to go through Cyberworld using her powers to freeze every single enemy and make her stronger. I won't go too much into the route since those details don't matter in this moment, but if you continue on from a Snowgrave save into the next chapters, things start to get weird. I think further along in the game, if you continue on with the save, you'll eventually end up down the path to the bad ending of Deltarune, which may or may not necessarily be the end of the world, but would absolutely result in Susie laying down her life to save everyone, which is exactly what Undyne does in the genocide route. It's of my own personal belief that Undyne the Undying is the most emotional and powerful battle in all of Undertale, due to the fact that she is using every ounce of her strength, her determination, and her soul to stay alive long enough to defeat the player, or at least distract them long enough for the underground to evacuate. She is putting her life on the line to save her people without a second thought. She is literally melting from the amount of determination in her to save the lives of those she cares about, to stop you. If we go along with the theory that Susie isn't the monster from the prophecy, then it leans even more to her being Undyne's successor when you take Undertale's own prophecy into account. In the genocide route, Gerson specifically mentions that even if he isn't a hero now, there is someone out there who could be. Someone who will never give up trying to do the right thing, no matter what. There's no prophecy or legend about anyone like that. It's just something I know is true, that someone like that will strike you down. He is inherently talking about Undyne, who says that she will strike you down right before becoming Undyne the Undying and starting up the boss fight. Undyne is specifically stated to not be part of the prophecy, but she is an incredibly important part of the story regardless. If Susie truly is taking her place in Deltarune, then it's likely that Susie will end up laying her life down to save the world from the Roaring, one way or another. Undyne has always been one of my favorite characters. She's important to me in more ways than I think I can say, honestly. Susie is the perfect person to follow in those footsteps and has shown tremendous growth in just these few chapters, which, may I remind you, happens in a span of 3, maybe 4 days at most. In that short amount of time, Susie went from being a straight up bully to Chris, threatening to hurt them within minutes of us first meeting her, to going to church and sharing juice with them and eating at the diner and chilling by the riverside in comfortable silence. She still has her sass and tough girl personality, but she's more comfortable being herself now that she has friends to live and die for. Whether she is truly the monster of the prophecy doesn't really matter anymore. Susie's strength, emotionally and physically, will lead to her writing her own destiny and becoming the hero that everybody needs. Like Gerson said, but you, my dear, I see a story lit up in your eyes. Burning bright, burning black, burn up everything. So, how do you think it all ends? No, how do you want it to end? There is one thing that can override the dark, a white pen known as hope. I believe this is what you hold. Thanks for sticking around to the end. What are your thoughts on Deltarune so far? I absolutely love the direction it's going, and I can't wait to see what Chapter 5 holds for us next year. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.